Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm your ever-loving host, Shorty. I'm back again. And I'm reviewing today Gryffen, Galaxy's Most Wanted. I'm not going to lie, this wasn't something I was rushing to pick up. It's from Whatnot, who've done some stuff I like, some stuff I've not been too fussed on. Somebody on my pull list, on my customers pull list, ordered it, and I was like, yeah, you know what, I'll grab a couple extra copies. I'm happy to try some new stuff out. My first thought was it looked vaguely, in an odd way, a little bit Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, Galaxy's Most Wanted, sci-fi, deep space shenanigans. I was thinking, yeah, it could be a little bit of fun. It is not Guardians of the Galaxy, not by a long shot. This is nothing to do with saving the galaxy in any way that maintains the status quo or anything like that. This is a full-on anarchist revolution, save the galaxy, and I am all in favour of that. But in terms of how it works as a comic book, we're going to have to talk about some technical details first, and we start with the art, because as much as I love this comic book, and I do, the art was not my favourite. There's some stuff I really liked about it, but there's also some stuff which felt a little bit underdeveloped. Some sequences inside rooms and particularly in fight scenes felt a little bit flat, like not enough depth to them. I couldn't be 100% sure if this is down to a colouring issue or a line issue, but just a couple of times I was like, it doesn't feel like there's a sense of things happening around an object. It just feels like there's two things next to each other. Beat-em-up video game kind of stuff from the late 90s, early 2000s. And I'm not saying I dislike the artwork because of that, but it's worth pointing out that sometimes I can love a comic book and it's still not going to do everything I want it to. When you come to the fight scenes, there's a lack of dynamism to it as well, but what we do have is a fantastic world. The characters all look fantastic. Every single one of them has their own little quirks, idiosyncrasies, facial expressions, outfits which change as the comic book carries on, which is kind of nice. People do get changed. They don't just wear the same costume the entire time. Love the little detailing there. And these starships and spaceships and the world is really, really good. It's the world which is the first thing I found myself really enjoying, because this is very much a show-don't-tell kind of comic book. There's a little bit going where we have a character who is on trial at the moment. They were, I think, at some point either in an army or part of law enforcement, but they then turned anarchist revolutionary and were basically guilty of treason. And they're asked a question, and their response is a huge diatribe against the oppressive fascistic state that they live under, and it is fantastic. It is brilliant and pithy and funny and angry and everything I wanted it to be. It turns out they're asking them what food they wanted for their meal. And I like that that is how it starts. It feels like they're just leaning into the fact that this is not necessarily a comedy book, but the characters are going to have fun with what's going on. No matter how dark it gets, no matter how brutal and unforgiving, these people live in this world. And that's what the writing style really does here. It trusts you to fall into the world with the stories that's happening. It doesn't set anything up, it doesn't explain exactly what's going on, it doesn't tell you who these people are, why they're doing what they're doing, what their relationships are. There's no previously on or for the past X years. It is just, hey, you're in this world, cool, these are the people in the world, go hang out with them. And it's brilliant to do that, by the way, because these are great people. Main character, Gryffen, they're absolutely amazing. I am absolutely in love with them. They have some of the best lines I've read in comic books for quite some time. They are absolutely hilarious, sometimes seemingly without trying, just because they are being themselves and going through their life. And in dark, horrifying situations, sometimes you just have to take the lighter option in how you engage with the world. Not just that, but they're also very, very clever. In fact, there's an awful lot of cleverness in this comic book, and it comes across really well. I've recently, very recently, reviewed a comic book which I've compared favourably to some Joss Whedon work, namely Firefly and Serenity. This one, I think people could see a similarity there in the way that the comedic writing is done. It's very pithy, it's sharp, there's a little bit of snark in there, but unlike Whedon-esque dialogue where it feels like it's just waiting for the next snarky side to come, this feels like it's a very naturalistic way of people talking to each other. People get into each other's faces, there's little bits of interruption, there are funny lines which seem to actually just be thrown away comments that only become funny once your brain clicks into gear and it lets you follow what's happened. Amazing writing throughout, and I said, I like the setting. I don't entirely agree with Gryffen on everything. They seem to think that the idea of a people-led revolution is not going to be as important as a technology-led one. Don't get me wrong, I like the idea of using mad science for anarchism, down for that. But they use the French Revolution as like, oh, but when you did that and that was a people-based one, you just end up with Bonaparte, who is an authoritarian regime anyway. I don't necessarily agree with what they're saying. I don't 100% disagree. What I'd like to do is talk to them about it. And I think that is possibly one of the biggest compliments I'm going to give to this comic book. I genuinely feel like I could have a conversation with these characters. They are so real. They are not typical cookie cutter ideas of what we'd expect to see in a far-flung science fiction, sci-fi, galaxy spread kind of story. They are people that have opinions and are happy to share them and discuss them and sometimes be wrong and change their minds. They are living, breathing characters in a way I don't recall seeing in most comic books I read. Genuinely love it. It's made it onto my pull list. It's gone from something I could have taken or left to cannot wait for the next issue. If you're ever wanting to try something out that's a little bit different, that's a little bit queer, that is very feminist, if you want to also have funny as hell, very clever, huge sci-fi ideas, this is the comic book for you. I generally love it, and I hope you do as well. That's it from me for now. I'll be back at some point. Until I see you again, though, look after each other, everyone. Stay safe. Bye!